Morning, everybody. My name is Klaeri Schelhowe. I'm the Delivery Director of the Trust Alliance. It's a pity that we can't be in person in Pukekohe, but I'm really happy to share with you how the Trust Alliance and new technology can enhance sustainable growth for the potato industry. What I would like to cover today is who we are, what we are doing, why it is important, and how you guys can benefit from it. So the challenges, the technology, the opportunity, and dig a little bit more into our current work streams, especially on digital identity and why it is important. The Trust Alliance New Zealand is a change agent for food, fiber, and facts, and especially data. And data sharing, data interoperability is key. Our chair is Klaeri, and that's why we started our journey with the potato, which will be explained later in the session. Capturing data once, share when required in a permissioned and a controlled way, and protect data always. That is our key mantra of the nonprofit organization where we bring private sector and public sector together. We are building the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure for New Zealand, and it should be owned by the community. So from the community for the community. And keep in mind, capturing data once, share in permission, and protect the data always. Our objectives are really to strengthen the global and the domestic competitiveness of the primary industry. We realize that the consumers, and we just heard from Catherine Rich, are getting more mindful and considering ethical, sustainable, and environmental impacts of the product and the produce. And that's why it's so important to prove provenance and tell your story. And overall, we can say we are increasing profitability under the sustainable impact, of course, or aspect. We are improving consumer engagement, that you can tell your story. We enable and help simplifying admin and compliance procedures. And we all know the compliance is getting more and more, and everybody is getting compliance fatigue. It's so much work for everybody. So why not we use this work and turn it into a value? And I explain how we think it could work. Mitigating the risk for the business and the environment is super important as well. Biosecurity occurrences. And how to manage this risk. And then the overall transparency across the whole value chain. So our members, the membership organization, are allowed to use or should use the platform and being able to manage, share, and control the data in a trustworthy way. To give you an overview, it's not all about potatoes. We have beef and dairy with Silverfin Farms, PharmIQ, Eagle Technologies, LIC, Norwood, retailers, food staff, eco detection, and the public sector as well supporting us. And you see really it's a really good size of membership right now. And the key thing is here, with our members, we are able to get in contact to almost every single farmer in New Zealand. And that's an amazing outcome and a great achievement to get in touch with you guys through service providers or industry bodies or the public and private sector. To give you an overview about what we have done last year, and that was a scoping project which I've done and worked a lot with the potato team, with Ian, Paula, Nicola, Gemma, and Chris, of course. And I really did some interviews and went to a potato paddock and tried to find the right paddock. So we started our journey to document the flow of the potato, starting from the seed potato to up to the shelves in crisp or French fries. And that is the physical stream. So we mapped this one and went through all single steps and mapped it with the digital stream. So all the different data elements which I was coming across, and I mapped it in parallel to the physical flow of the potato. So starting with the seed potato, and it was really an eye-opener and a bit of shocking as well, that a grower has to give 7 times his paddock details to different stakeholders before he's allowed or be authorized to grow a potato. And that is really redundancy of work, too much admin work, and pay. So we will work on that to help you to minimize this one. Then growing the commercial potatoes, the food processing, the food safety aspect there. How can you prove and ensure that metal detector X-ray machines are really up and running, and show and share your good practice? For the export, all the biosecurity, e-fighters, what needs to be done, a lot of data, levy collection. And Nicola just explained it in her presentation. The BELIS system is now set up for that you can verify your levy, which is reported on behalf of you to Potatoes New Zealand, which is great. And then, of course, tell your story at the retailers or at your consumers. With that scoping project, we have identified as well a feedback loop, or we have established a feedback loop from the buyer, yield rates, defect rates, through the buyer created invoice, back to the paddock and to the cultivar. And I'm happy to share with you later the video that you can have a look how it really will work. Said that, we have identified almost 10 different use cases and applications where the new technology of the data sharing mechanism can be utilized and turned into a benefit. Why do you have to wait 180 days for your payment when you can prove that the potatoes are already on the boat for exporting, and really prove it by the transaction of loading the potatoes? The bank can already release the money earlier, clip the ticket, you get paid earlier, we have increased liquidity and cash flow, and the buyer will not turn and change his terms and conditions anyway, and the bank is helping out here. But where to start from here, because there are too many applications and use cases. So with that, we come to that was the foundation work, where we come to 3 critical points. That is the digital identity. Otherwise, we don't know who is who and is sharing data with who. The second one is location. It is super important. Paddock, crops, packing shed, animals who are jumping the fence as well. So where are our produce and our fields to operate? And the third one is around critical control points. So compliance, license to operate, temperature checks, tuber inspections, field inspections, all these sort of things across the whole value chain are in the third pillar. And based on that, before I give you a quick overview about proof of identity and proof of location. So that maybe looks familiar to you, and you have to do it 10 times or 7 times, as I mentioned. We don't want to do that anymore. It's inaccurate, it's not easy to share, it's duplicating work, and it's really, really non-value add work, which you have to do. Ideally, we do it digital, but the key thing is here that you will have control about who do you share this information with. And that will lead me to our work streams. So we have established 5 different work streams right now, and the digital identity is the enabler for data sharing in a trustworthy way. So it's really the prerequisite for all other work streams. We are running the work streams at the moment in parallel, so the members are driving these work streams, and I'm facilitating it, and together we are delivering results and requirements and statements of work, what we need to improve the situation. To give you an example, the IoT sensor network for sustainable farming is, for example, eco-detection with a water sensor in real time, collecting and capturing the data. Then that data can be used for the farm environment plan, so reusing and repurposing the data here. And with the farm environment plan, which we have to do anyway, we have the chance to maybe reuse it to prove good management practice for the bank and increase maybe the loan or decrease the interest rate. Or for an insurance company, or even as the buyer criteria as well. Because as we know, the consumer wants to know some kind of sustainable environmental data sooner or later. And then coming to the value chain optimization, that's really to improve yield rate and reduce environmental impact. To have this feedback loop from the buyer back to the crop and to the paddock. And the fifth one is the overall one. It's really the provenance story. Where are my goods coming from? What are the criteria or the quality criteria? Water quality, if the consumer wants to know it. Animal welfare, no antibiotics, all these. And these are only some examples of our work stream. So we have emission, carbon, NCAP, freshwater plans in the pipeline as well, but the methodology, how we share data and establish rules and roles around that, that is for every policy the same. And here it's important that we are really working very close together with the regional councils and MPI and DIA, especially for the digital identity. There's a trust framework which covers that. With MFE, we are collaborating with the policies, the freshwater policies, and then with the regional councils to identify what kind of data set they need and how they want to have the data provided. Digging into not the potato field, but the digital identity. And as you already know, you have already a lot of digital identities. You have different sign-ins for software, for apps, for your RID, for your real me, and you have the tangible identity. But I would like to focus on the digital ones. So the first thing what we are working on as a proof of concept right now is that we really believe that with the decentralization technology and the self-sovereignty, that should be owned by the data owner or data provider, and enable him and putting him in control. That is super important. So as you know, without the Trust Alliance, you have to sign in several systems, you have to replicate data. For example, your paddock geospatial file, you can't really easily export and import into another software tool. But with the Trust Alliance, you will get one digital identity, and this is enabling other tools that you can use it with it. So it's really the first benefit is really the single sign in. And repeating, you can control and manage your data, and it's really trustworthy, because when you send an email with an Excel spreadsheet, for example, you cannot really prove and ensure that this data is not be changed in the future. With decentralized technology, you can do that. So it's 100% trustworthy and immutable. This is a demonstration video which shows how it will look like in the future. Please note that we are not creating another app which you have to use. It is only for demonstration purposes. And let's see if that will work now when I click it. Here we go. And how does it work? You can set up your TANS identity, or you have already an identity in another software or app, which you then can be utilizing for other sign-in. You verify your identity, for example, on-site, you sign up, you have your name, your email address, and your NZPN number, and you allow that on-site can read this kind of data. You create your property, for example, your boundaries, Old McDonald's has a farm. You can assign some attributes to it, and you can decide if you want to share it with everybody or with a single audience. So you can share it with a Trust Alliance app, and then you see, okay, you only have to capture it once, and you have it for Baylis, you have it for OnSite or FarmIQ or whoever is authorized to have this data. With all assets in one place, and that's what we established as a real demonstration. I hope that this gave you an idea of what we are doing and what we are working on. And I'm keen to add the link to the other demonstration video into the link here. And please come back to us if you have any questions or challenges, or would like to be part of a use case. Yeah, thanks a lot, and stay healthy and safe.